In this lesson, we will be looking at data that has been displayed in bar graphs. And so, first of all, we want to talk about when bar graphs are used. Bar graphs are used to compare different categories of data. Data that is categorical data would be data that you would put into categories by a word, not by a number. So things like gender or brands of, I don't know, dog food or something like that, but not something that you would put into categories by a number, like age or salary or something like that. Okay, that's categorical data. And you're going to compare at least two sets of that, and that's when bar graphs are useful. Bar graphs can be very deceptive or distorting. First of all, when you don't label the vertical axis starting at 0, or if it is not scaled appropriately or evenly, and I'll show you an example of that here in just a minute. So we are going to go to this website here, and I want you to notice this is the same graph that is on your sheet of paper. This is two bar graphs where I'm comparing the population of two countries, or two, yeah, of Europe and Asia, I guess, not countries. And obviously there's blue and red graphs here. The y-axis, or the vertical axis, does start at 0 down here. I want you to notice that, and that is a good thing. Sometimes in math, you will see people that put the little skips in, and you cannot skip to a different number. It has to start at 0, and it has to be scaled evenly. So you have to jump. Notice it goes from 0 to 0.5, from 0.5 to 1, from 1 to 1.5. Those are all 0.5 increases, and that needs to continue to happen on this graph in order for it not to be distorted. So I'm going to show you, we're going to pay attention to what's happening just with the red bars, and I'm going to show you how you can make this graph be deceptive or distorting, okay? I'm going to change this so that I scale this from 2 to 4 instead. So now I've got two problems. First of all, I'm not starting at 0, and second of all, I probably have too narrow of a range if I'm only going from 2 to 4. So I want to do this and see how different the graph looks, okay? What that does is it makes it look like the population of Asia is drastically increasing as the years go by. If I set it back to the default, which is more appropriate, first of all, it starts at 0. And also it is scaled both evenly and appropriately, meaning I don't have too wide of a gap or too narrow of a gap. But now you can see that the population of Asia looks like it's increasing a little more gradually. So you can see how you can change the look of bar graphs by sort of changing how you scale your axes. All right, so we are going to use that bar graph that we just looked at to just kind of talk about some basic things. Okay, first of all, I want you to notice that both the x and the y-axis are labeled. The x-axis with years and the y-axis with population. Again, the y-axis does start at 0, and your jumps are consistent. It goes from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, so it's going by 5s each time, okay? And we need it to do that. So, first question, describe the general trend. That is just basically generally, what do you see? And what I would see if I look at the blue graph, which happens to stand for Europe's population, is that Europe's population really remains fairly stable. And obviously there's a little bit of an exception to the rule right here. But in general, we're just describing the basic shape. Europe's population remains fairly stable. But Asia's population does gradually increase. Asia's population gradually increases. Okay? So that's what's happening in general. All right, same graph here. Now I'm going to ask a specific question here. Approximately how many more people were in Asia, and be careful, Asia is the red bar, in the year 2005 compared to the year 1975. So in the year 2005, if I go look at the red bar, it looks, if I look across, it looks like that's 39 minus from 1975's red bar would be 24 right there. So 39 minus 24 gives me 15. Now, I cannot tell you how many people on a standardized test will get this question wrong because they will say there's 15 more people in Asia in the year 2005 than 1975. Okay? That's what it looks like on the bar, which is why you have to pay very, very close attention to the title here. Notice that my units are in hundreds of thousands. So this is 1,500,000 people more. Okay? If you think about that, um, this is the hundred thousands place. Obviously, I can't put a 15 there, so I need to put a 1 million out in front and a 5 so that that spot can be pulled with 15 or filled with 15. So basically, there's 1,500,000 more people than in 2005 than there was in 1975. And then what was the total population of Europe and Asia in 1990? So if we look at that, in 1990, Europe's population, it looks like, is about 700,000 people. And Asia's population, it looks like, is about 3,200,000 people. So when I add that together, I get 3,900,000 people, which again, this is the 100,000 spot. Can't put 39 there, so I put the 3 out in the front and the 9 there. Okay? And then it looks like that. So 3,900,000 more people, or total population of Europe and Asia in the year 1990. And that will do it for our bar graph discussion for today.